Check. Check. We're live, man. We're live again. Milking it. This is my second live of the night. Yes, Bruce Lee, Ryan Edwards. There's a few in already at this time of night. It's 12 a.m. Yep, someone's calling me a nonce. You know, we're 30 seconds in. Someone's calling me a nonce already. Fuck, you know. Nonce. What's going on? Is it too late to go live again or what? I've just done a live for about an hour. I don't know if I'm milking it here. Don't know if I'm overdoing it. What do you think? I don't like milking it, but I want to get that ad revenue. Plus, I enjoy doing these lives. It's like therapy. You know, just having a little chat and that. Have you ever been to prison? Not really prison. I got locked up about 4 months ago for assault. I've already told this story. Some guy tried to push in front of me, you know, in a queue at the kebab shop. And I was like, I can't tolerate that. I can't. You know, when people push in front of you, or they fucking bump into you and they don't apologise, even though it's their fault. I can't be doing with it. Or people sitting behind you on a bus, you know, and they sneeze on you. They don't put their fucking hand over their mouth and you get all spit all over your neck. You know, stuff like that, I can't be doing with it. So, these guys tried to push in front of me at the queue. In the queue at the kebab shop in Knots. So I had to fucking... We exchanged a few words and then I just ended up throwing a left hook, you know, on one of their chins and laying him out. And he like dropped and he like smashed his head on the floor and the police came and they put him in a recovery position. And I thought, why didn't I punch like that when I used to box? I would have been a world champ. I'd have been a world champ, man. Get yourself back in the gym, even if it's just for fitness. It's the best thing for you. I agree. Really agree with that. You know, that buzz of just training, working out, sweating it out. Give people way instead of saying thanks. Give people way instead of saying thanks. Give you dirty looks instead. Yeah, I don't know what I meant, but did you go to court for punching the guy? No, I didn't, because the guy he refused to press charges, you know, because I took a few punches as well myself. I took a few punches, you know, and a few kicks to the face, but I took it well. I was quite proud of myself because it was like 3 of them in it. And I took it well, I did well, you know what I mean? I didn't pussy out, I didn't quit like the black critter, run off. I laid one of them out. But you know, when I was in the cell for about 17 hours, just laying on this fucking mattress. And there was a little toilet there. There was nothing else to do. And I was going mental. I started shadow boxing. Started doing a bit of boxing. And then I laid down again. And it was just dead. There was nothing to do. And I thought, prison's not for me at all. It's not for me, man. I'm going to try and just go down the straight and narrow. You know, just do these videos. Make money. Invest that money in crypto or whatever. And just try and stay legit, try and work out. I want to go back to boxing. You know, sweat it out. Joe Rogan, he goes in the sauna, don't he? He posts photos, you know, of him like Time, when can I come on a night out with you? You know, when I'm out and about, I always like bump into viewers, you know, watch my videos and that, and we just have a nice little chat. I bought one of my viewers a bottle of Bulmers. You know, a few weeks ago, I bumped into this guy and he's like, yeah, I really like your videos. I bought one of your hoodies for my brother who also watches your videos. So I said, all right, do you want a drink? And he said, yeah, if you don't mind. So I bought him a bottle of Bulmers, you know, from my shop. So I always meet up with viewers, you know, and have a little chat with them and that. So anytime you're ready, let me know, innit? When are you organising the viewers link up? I am socially awkward when I attend. Will you be friendly and make me feel comfortable? Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a bit awkward, isn't it? You know, when you meet up with people. I think because people are so like obsessed with social media and talking to people online. You people who are commenting here, you know, if you see me in the street, it's like, would you say this to me in person if you were sober? You know what I mean? I remember when I fucking went down on this woman a few years ago. I went down on her. And then I didn't see her for a few years after that. Then I was in a shopping centre and I was walking and she was like walking towards me. She like looked at me and she like went like that, you know, like, and hid her face like that. And then she messaged me on the internet, you know, about 10 minutes later saying, I've just seen you, ha 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 ha. And I just thought, I don't know. People are becoming a bit socially retarded, aren't they? Someone keeps saying, you were saying this in the last live, I want to fight Amir Khan, make it happen, bro. How would I make it happen though? Like, I don't even know him. I sparred with him. He gave me like £20 a round. And then he sacked me, you know, because I was like messing him up. He's only about that big, you know, compared to me. So I was like keeping it long, jabbing him up. And he didn't like it, so he told his trainer to get rid of me, not bring me back. Have you ever thought about doing an evening with Tyson around the clubs and pubs with Coogan being the MC? Like I say, I thought about it. I thought about doing like a little meet and greet, but I don't know. People might not turn up. I might just be sat there on my own like a fucking lowlife. You know, a dosser. You know, just sat there like hoping people turn up and no one fucking turns up. Not really into that. I don't like being rejected. Yeah, I take rejection quite hard. That's why I never try it on with women. I never try it on with women, you know. Also, if I'm in the streets and like someone says, alright Tyron, I like your videos, I'll never go like that. You know, to like shake their hand, because they might not fucking, they might just be like passing. They might just be saying, yeah, I like your videos, you know, in passing. So if I go like that, they might have already gone past me and then I'm just stood there like that with my fucking hand out like that. It's cringe, man. These kind of embarrassing things in life make me cringe, man. You know what I mean? How many guns does Derek Chisora own? I ain't got a clue, man. I ain't got a fucking clue. He's milking it, innit? He's making a fucking really good living off the back of losing. That's what makes me want to come back. Because even if I get fucking beat, you know, at least I'll make a good living. You know, like Chisora, he's losing fights every minute, innit? And he's still getting paid. You remember when he bought a load of Five Guys burgers and he gave them to Dave Allen? You know, and Dave Allen's little mates chucking around Five Guys burgers. I went to Five Guys one time and it was fucking expensive. And the food wasn't all that. Would you like to shake my hand, Froch Groves? Yeah, that was fucking brilliant, wasn't it? That was the best build-up on it ever in fucking boxing history. You know, Froch Groves, you know that little, the gloves are off. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Do you think that's like the best build-up, the best fight build-up ever? I'm just going to put it on now, innit? Froch Groves, the gloves are off. Let's have a little look at that. Might get done for copyright, so I need to mute that. Right. We're gonna have a little review of the gloves are off. Right. Can you see this, yeah? Right, so there's Johnny Nelson, yeah? You see Johnny Nelson there? Yeah? Let's have a little look at this. I'm not going to watch all of it because it's a bit... It's 24 minutes. Yeah, Froch. What do you think? That was the first fight, wasn't it? The referee, like, Howard Foster, he stopped it prematurely. Didn't he? He got like George Groves in like a headlock. You know what I mean? And fucking, look at that right hand. Carl Froch has normally got a tough chin, but, you know, taking that right hand, you know, his Polish chin, they normally stand up to those kind of punches. But George Groves, he timed that right hand well, didn't he? Let's have a little look at that again. Yeah. Alright, I want to get to the end, you know, when they're shaking hands and... Alright, look at this. Let me just fast forward it to the handshaking. Right, so this is where Johnny Nelson says, are you going to shake hands? And then Carl Froch says, would you like to shake my hand? And then George Groves said, I'd love to shake your hand. And then Carl said, you'd love to? And then watch, look at this. Right, I'm going to pause it here. Can you see George Groves' hand there like that? You see how he's got it like really close to him? Look, no one shakes hands like that. No one's got their hand that close to their body when someone's that distance away, you know, from the contradiction Froch. George Groves' hand, if he was like genuine, he would have put it there, you know, where Johnny Nelson is, you know, like met in the middle kind of thing. But he put his hand like really close to him here, himself, because he knew that he was going to try and like, well, look, you see what happens here. Right, hold on a minute, I missed a little bit here, hold on a sec. Right, let me play that again, yeah. So George Groves is smiling, he knows what he's got planned, you know, he's going to do a little snidey handshake, innit? Right, let's go. Right, you see George Groves looking over there like that. He's looking like, yeah, wait until you lot see this. Look, he's a bit cocky, isn't he? Then he pulls him over like that. You know, trying to exert his physical strength. You know, trying to... intimidate Carl Froch, you know, trying to make Carl Froch think that George Groves is physically superior. Yeah? Strength-wise. So he pulls Carl Froch's hand over like that. And then Carl Froch like puts his hand on the table. You see his hand on the table like that. He's put his hand on the table like that to stop himself from like falling into the table. You know, because George Groves has fucking pulled him over like that. So Carl Froch is a bit confused here. Like, he says to George Groves, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Like, he looks at him and says, "What are you doing?" And can you see Carl Froch's forearm there? Can you see those muscles? You know, Carl Froch is Polish, isn't he? And Polish people are like grafters. You know, they're fucking hard workers. I told you about when I used to work in Amazon. You know, picking up boxes, and the Polish people, they were the grafters. They've got that tough DNA, and you can see that there, can't you? You know, in Carl Froch's forearm. You see those muscles? He's looking at George Groves saying, "What are you doing?" And then he goes, we can all pull a bar of it, yeah? You want to pull a bar, have a bit of a pull and a push, you know, and George Groves' head nearly bangs on the table. Look at that. You see his head nearly banging on the table. And then Carl Froch, he like shakes George Groves' hand off. Look at this, watch. Look at that, he like shakes his hand off like, you know what I mean? You're not going to try and fucking exert your authority over me like that. And then he sits down calmly, don't he? You know, Carl Froch, he went to go and see a sports psychologist. And it really helped him out, didn't it? Look, George Groves is sat there looking a bit embarrassed. You know, with that little fake smile there. Like, that's not a real smile, is it? It's fake. Look at, like, one side of his mouth's up. Can you see that there? But you know, that side, it's not up, is it? So that's not a genuine smile, is it? That side of his face is up. So it's a fake smile, isn't it? And then he licks his lips. Did you see that? Hold on a minute. Let me just rewind. So you can see him licking his lips. Look at that. That's a nervous lick, isn't it? And Carl Froch is staring at him, you know, with that fucking Polish stare. Ah, fuck you know. Froch Groves. Froch Groves. Brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant, wasn't it? That was a brilliant build-up. Really enjoyed it, I'm telling you. Because it was genuine, wasn't it? It was fucking genuine, man. You know these little boxers today, they try and like pretend to hate their opponents, don't they? So you know when they get an interview by that fucking Coogan, they like screw up their faces, don't they, like that? You know, when they're talking about their opponents. They like screw their faces up like that, you know, trying to make out like they're fucking, that they hate their opponents. But it's not genuine, is it? But this was genuine, Froch Groves. I fucking loved it. Really enjoyed it. That was a nice little review on it of that. I might have to do more of them. I enjoyed that. George Groves got fucking mugged off, didn't he? And then he did like a little fake smile, didn't he? You know, where like a little bit of his lip was up there like that, but the other part was down there like that. Like, so he's like trying to pretend to smile, and he like that. It's not real, is it? Yeah. The international superstar, Carl Froch, he done him in, didn't he? Went to see a sports psychologist and give him the edge. I'm probably going to see Carl Froch on Wednesday, so I'm going to take my knife. Where's my knife? I found a little Swiss Army knife the other day. Where's my knife? I think it's in the other room, but I'm going to take it when I go to the Lee Wood press conference. I think Eddie Hearn's going to be there. Coogan's going to be there, so it might kick off. Lee the alcoholic frotch. The contradiction frotch, you know what I mean? There's going to be some people there who have dissed, so I'm going to have to take my knife. Did you see the James DeGale, George Groves ringside classic as well? Yeah, that was quite good as well. Not as good. I think James DeGale was a bit cringe. He had a big forehead, didn't he? People are dissing my hairline, aren't they? But James DeGale, he looked like a horse, didn't he? He looked like a fucking horse, man. He had a long face like that, didn't he? Yeah. And he got fucked up by Eubank. I got beat as well, but I didn't have like 3 months notice, you know, like DeGale. I had like 4 days, but no excuses, yeah. I got beat fair and square. Shout out to Jockey Matt Wilson again, you know, with a nice little £20 super chat. It's quite good of him, innit? He says, ha 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 ha. Shout out to Carl's fucking Polish stare, yeah. Carl Froch's got that tough Polish DNA on it, that tough grit. Yeah, I enjoyed that little review, you know. I might have to do them more often, you know, in these videos. I enjoyed that little review, you know, of George Groves standing there with his hand like that. You know, really close to him, so Carl Froch would have to lean over. You know, so he would be off balance. And George Groves was stood there like that. Yeah, enjoyed it. Remember that time when George Groves made the contradiction cry on ringside? Good times, yep. Yep, 100%. 100. Shall I review that? My editing's a bit fucked up. Right. I need to practice my editing because, yeah. But I know what you mean. It was good, wasn't it? It was like genuine hate, wasn't it? Really hate. I think Kell Brook and Amir Khan hate each other as well. Like even Dillian White, Joshua, you know, when they did like the gloves are off. I might have to review that. Do you know what it is? You know this mouse? It's not that good. It keeps fucking up. So when I try and like click on certain pages, it doesn't click properly, and I know it's going to fuck up. And I'm going to get a new mouse and we're going to review, like, you know, the gloves are off kind of thing, you know, like Joshua, Dillian White. You remember that? What was the highlight of that one? I think it was the bit where like Johnny Nelson, he kind of seemed like he was on Joshua's side, didn't he? And he was like saying to Dillian White, because Dillian White kept saying Joshua was fake. So Johnny Nelson said to Dillian, you keep saying he's fake, explain. You know what I mean? That's what Johnny Nelson said to Dillian, didn't he? Johnny Nelson said to Dillian, you keep saying Joshua's fake, explain. But you can't really talk to Dillian White like that. Do you know what I mean? Dillian White's a Jamaican gangster. He's a yardie, isn't he? He's from the slums, you know, Kingston, Jamaica. So, you know, if you try and like talk to him like that, it's not going to work, is it? And you've seen that, you know, when Johnny Nelson said to Dillian White, you keep saying Joshua's fake, explain. You know, Dillian White, he said, I don't need to explain anything. Yeah, I don't need to explain anything. You know, because Johnny Nelson was acting like the police, wasn't he? You know, saying explain. And Dillian, he's probably gone through that, hasn't he, with like Jamaican police, you know, when he was a little criminal. You know, Dillian White, he said he got hit with a hammer. You know, when he was young. He said that in an interview with fucking Coogan. Dillian White said in an interview with Coogan, yeah, that he got hit with a hammer. And then Coogan like moved on and said, oh yeah, how's training camp going? And I thought, you fucking muppet, man. How can you move on from that? Like, if a guy says he got hit with a hammer, you're supposed to like go into it, aren't you? You know, and like explore the hammer story. You're not supposed to fucking move on, are you? But Coogan moved on, didn't he? He didn't want to hear the hammer story. He fucked up, didn't he, Coogan? But yeah. Jim McDonald from Coronation Street said, the closest Dillian has been to Jamaica is probably Brixton Market, so it's, yeah. The closest Dillian has been to Jamaica is probably Brixton Market, so it is. I like that. Jim McDonald from Coronation Street. I used to love watching soaps, you know. I might go back to watching soaps. You know, when I was at school, I used to get in from school, yeah. And I was a soap addict. I used to get in from school at about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I used to watch Neighbours. Yeah. Then I used to watch Home and Away. Then I used to watch Hollyoaks. Then I used to watch Emmerdale. Then I used to watch Coronation Street. Then I used to watch EastEnders. Then I used to watch Brookside. Yeah. I was just sat there, you know, for hours and hours, just like watching the soaps, like really interested in the storylines. And I've started to watch Brookside again. Have you ever watched Brookside? It's a soap in Liverpool. And there was a storyline where this guy called Trevor Jordash, he molested his 2 little daughters. Yeah, he fucking molested them. And he used to beat the fuck out of his wife. You know, when she tried to stop him from molesting his daughters. He used to beat the fuck out of her. So one day, the wife and one of the daughters that he used to molest, they murdered him, you know, and buried him under the patio. That's an interesting story, isn't it? Coogan was on EastEnders, wasn't he? He posted a little clip on his Instagram the other day of him in the cafe, you know, like hiding behind a newspaper. He was like pretending to read a newspaper, you know, the Walford Gazette. And he was like pretending like to fucking, Coogan was like an extra, wasn't he? He wasn't allowed to speak, so I think Coogan was a bit jealous, you know, of the main actors who were allowed to speak. He's that kind of guy, isn't he, who's like bitter, you know, of people who are fucking... Coogan used to interview me, you know, and give me that exposure. But, you know, after I set up a YouTube channel, he stopped interviewing me. You know, because he knew that I was fucking... I reckon Jimmy Corkill would have had Jim McDonald on the cobbles. Jimmy Corkill. Yeah, he was a character in Brookside, you know. And like, after years of watching Brookside, I found out that the guy who played Jimmy Corkill was gay. And you know, when I found that out, I was a bit like... You Never Lived, bro. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Saved by the Bell, etc. Yeah. I used to watch I used to watch Keenan and Kel, innit? There's some really good like programs out there that are just fucking brilliant. Keenan and Kel, yeah. The Office, have you ever watched that? Ricky Gervais, like fucking Coogan's desperate to interview Ricky Gervais. Yeah. Coogan's desperate to interview Ricky Gervais. But Gervais, he's like he wrote The Office, innit? And The Office got remade, in about 10 different countries. Like India, China, Japan, Israel, America. And like the American like season, there was about 8 seasons of The Office, the American Office. So Ricky Gervais got paid every time a new episode of The Office was made in America. He got like royalties in it. He got royalties every time an episode was made in America, Japan, China, Israel. So Gervais, he's got the bag on it. He's like the fastest selling out stand-up comedian ever. Like, when he goes on tour and he does stand-ups, his gigs like sell out like instantly. They're the fastest selling out. The Skype Wanker and Kel Brook, that sold out in like 10 seconds or whatever. That's Gervais, yeah? He's on that level. So, Coogan trying to interview him. Gervais, he's not bothered, is he? They don't care, man. Coogan tries to make out like he's some big time fucking A-list Hollywood actor, don't he? Because he was a little extra on EastEnders. You see how he's like laying there with those 2 fucking bimbos? He thinks he's the man, don't he? But Gervais, it's all about levels, isn't it? But True Geordie interviewed Gervais, so Coogan's a bit jealous, isn't he? He's a bit bitter. He wants the whole pie. Proper boxing, bro. Give me a £4.49 super chat saying yes, Thai FL. Check the bruv's page out sometime. X-Ledge. Yeah, go and check that out. Don't know what that is, but go and have a little look at that. Thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, this live's alright. This live's okay. It's not too bad. It's my second live of the night. The first one was about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I thought I'd go again. I just enjoy the lives, to be honest. My plan is to go live every day. Every single day. But same with boxing. I was inconsistent, with the training and the discipline. And I used to go out. I used to train Monday to Friday in the boxing gym. I used to spar with Kel Brook, Kid Galahad, Johnny Nelson. Yeah. Junior Witter. I'd spar with them like Monday to Friday. And then Friday night, I'd think, you know what? I'm going to go out and get drunk and have sex with a slag. So I'd go out and I'd fucking get drunk and I'd fuck around sexually. And it would ruin all the hard training that I did. But that's what I mean, man. You can't be silly like that. You know what I mean? It's... When I see like Lee Wood and Barry, I was better than both of those 2. But when I see those 2 doing well, I think, fuck, Yeah, thanks for interacting with the viewers. I'm a fan. Enjoying the live. Yep, thanks for that. Ty, do you make more off YouTube or crypto? They both kind of like support each other, because the money I make from these videos I put into crypto. I try and put them into like high interest, like savings accounts of like 300%, you know, and then get that money back. And that allows me to do videos. I'm not stuck in a factory. If I still worked in Amazon, I wouldn't be able to do these videos. I wouldn't be bothered. I'd be thinking, fuck it, just can't be bothered. So they kind of support each other, but I'd say I make more money in probably, I say crypto, you know. But they're both good earners. I'd recommend both of them. A guy like messaged me earlier on, and he sent a little super chat saying he set up a channel on YouTube and I've inspired him, you know, to do it. Good on him. Good on him, man. I know I talk shit and diss people like Coogan and the Black Critter and Michelle Hall Phelps, but you know, some people I want them to do well. Has Kid Gallard woke up yet? Yeah, that was a big punch, wasn't it? That was a big punch. Yeah, I think it was the weight, wasn't it? He failed to make weight twice. And then, like, he kind of lost that punch resistance. You know, when he got caught with that big right hand by Kiko Martinez. He got caught the first time, went down. The bell rang. Didn't really recover. Went out. Got caught with the same punch, so... Remember when I boxed at welterweight, you have to bear in mind I'm like 6'2". So I got down to welterweight when I boxed on a Carl Froch undercard in Nottingham years ago, and I boxed this little journeyman, and this is when I was on it in boxing, and I had to like really boil down to the weight. I was eating like a little bowl of porridge in the morning, and a little tin of tuna and a bit of salad, you know, in the evening. And I was so weak, and I boiled down to the weight, and I got fucking stopped. I was schooling this guy. It was a bit like the Eubank fight. I was winning, and then my fucking punch resistance just went, and I got TKO'd. So I think the same thing happened to Barry, innit? Imagine Tyson doing a Coogan tribute video if Coogan passed away. That's the thing, innit? It's like the what's he called? David Diamante. You know, when I was dissing him, saying he's like that half man, half rat. That's... You know, and then he was like in a little motorbike accident, wasn't he? And it looked like he was going to die, and I felt a bit guilty. So when I diss these fuckers like Coogan and Michelle Hall Phelps, I don't really wish death on them, but they are a bit... It was me that drowned Coogan in the swimming pool. Yeah, do you know about that little story there? You know Coogan, yeah? He was on a YouTube channel. He got interviewed by this guy called Marvin Herbert. And Coogan was like telling his little life story. And Coogan told a little story about when he was young, and he went to a little swimming pool with a few little fake mates. And like... there were some racists, you know, at the swimming pool. And they got Coogan, yeah, and they fucking like forced his head under the water, saying die, die, die. They used the P word in it, you know, to have a go at Asians. P, it rhymes with Aki. Yeah, so they got his head, these little racists, and they fucking pushed Coogan's head under the water, saying die, Aki, die, die. That was a good story, that. So because of that, like Coogan, when he grew up, he just tries to like cling on to anybody, don't he? Eddie and those two fucking bimbos there. You know, he's trying to be all in Tyson Fury's camp and his videos, and it's all over. Who else is he sucking off? He's like sucking off Conor Ben, and he's trying to. But that's what happens, isn't it? You know, when you get bullied when you're a kid, like you just. It can go either way. I watched like videos of guys who were neglected, you know, when they were young, when they didn't get any posse. They were neglected. They were never invited to the proms. They never got any women. They never got picked for the football team. You know, when they were in school and they become bitter, they never got any posse. The girls in the school weren't into them. So these guys, they become really bitter and they go back to the school and they just start shooting up women, girls, anybody. You know what I mean? They fucking blast them up. You know, because they've got that bitterness in them. They've got that resentment, you know, like being rejected and bullied and treated like scum. So that's not really what Coogan kind of went the other way, where he was like trying to cling on to people like Eddie and Tyson Fury, those two fucking bimbos. He just wants to be loved, don't he? You know, after those little racists got Coogan's head and forced his head underwater and said, "Die, Aki, die, die." You know, I want to say the real word in it, but like fucking YouTube are sensitive, man. They're a bunch of little fragile little fucking pussies, man. So I have to say Aki, die, you know, instead of the P word, like, you know, to have a go at Asians and that. If you invest all your money, then how do you have money to live? Be safe. Well, I didn't say I invested all of it. I didn't say I invested all of it. I said I invested some of it. I didn't invest all of it. But that's what I mean. You say all of it. Well, you can live off interest. I told you about that 300% savings account that you can put crypto into and get 400% interest. So, you know, if you're getting like £500 a week interest, like you can live off that, can't you? Tyson, I'm looking into getting into crypto, but isn't it similar to gambling? Be safe. You know what it is? There are like crypto coins that are scams. Some people just set up like, because anyone can make a coin. I could make a TIFL TV coin, crypto coin. You know what I mean? If I was like really fucking snidey, I could set up a little shit coin. You know, if I was really computer literate, I could hack into Mayweather's Instagram, yeah. And this actually happens in real life. I could hack into Mayweather's Instagram and shill my little shit coin. You know, really promote it. I could set up a Twitter and buy a load of followers and really promote this little shit coin, you know, pretend it's like legit, and then like thousands and thousands of people could put money into it, you know, and there might be like 500,000 there, and I could just run off with all the money and just fucking like abandon the project, innit? So yeah, crypto can be a scam, but if you look at like the top, you have to just look at the top 10, innit? There's like a league table, you know, like the Premier League, where there's like the top 10 cryptos, and you see that consistently they've gone up year after year. You know, so like, just, you have to like look into what you're investing in. Thoughts on boxer size Ben's comments? I just watched the interview with Ben Davison and that IFL Umar, and it's quite interesting. I think Ben Davison, he was like saying, I know what it's like to be a boxer. You know, I've been through it with these boxers. Well, you haven't, have you? You haven't been punched in the face, have you? You know, holding the pads and that. It's not really the same, is it, as being fucking punched and having to get in there and risk getting murdered in the ring. So I think Ben Davison was a bit off there. I want to see him like produce somebody from like nothing, a little kid. But I don't know if he takes on little kids. I don't think he's got any little kids that he trains. Brendan Ingle, he used to like, the gym was full of kids. And we used to spar with the kids, and the kids would really benefit, you know, from sparring with like Johnny Nelson and that. Kell Brook, Junior Witter. You know, the little kids did really benefit. So a 7-year-old Nassim Ahmed sparring with a Harold Graham, that would have really like brought Naz on, you know, and really fucking made him brilliant like he was back in his day. So that's what Brendan did. He kind of give time to the kids. But I don't think boxer size Ben and Shane McGuigan and all them guys can like be bothered with them youngsters. You've said before that they used to only body spar at the Ingle gym. So how did that prepare them for actual fights? Good question. So I just spoke about the little kids, yeah, in the gym sparring. You know, these little kids sparring with like Johnny Nelson and Kell Brook. And like Brendan, what he used to do is he used to get the little kids to like spar with like Kell Brook and hit Kell Brook to the face, yeah. And you might say, well, what's that going to do for Kell? It's a little kid. But Brendan used to say, like, the little kids, they don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing punches from, like, wild angles, you know, like Beyonce Wilder. You know how he throws all those silly punches and you don't really know where they're coming from. That's what kids do. They don't really know what they're doing. So them guys, Brendan used to say, those little kids, they're, like, hard to predict, because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what punches they're going to throw from what angles. So that prepares you. That prepares you like more than it would boxing a traditional boxer who has been taught to throw left, right, left hook, jab, jab, right, left hook, yeah? Boxers are taught to throw these kind of combinations. Jab, uppercut, left hook, yeah. So if you're fighting if you're sparring with a little kid and he's throwing all these wild punches from all these angles, you're not gonna. It helps you prepare, you know, more, if you know what I mean. It's really, really interesting philosophy from Brendan, but it works. It's fucking proved. It's proved to work. You know what I mean? So like Nassim Ahmed, when he was like probably 10 years old, he was probably trying to hit Harold Graham and Johnny Nelson in the face, and that kind of helped them like with their defensive skills. And you know what these guys are like defensively, you know, because they're sparring with these kids who are throwing all these wild punches and they don't know what to expect. Yeah, so yeah, man, really interesting guy Brendan was. I mean, these trainers of today, like I said before, like, who is Ben Davison produced from a little kid? Does he even train any kids? Does fucking, what's that other guy, Shane McGuigan, does he ever train any kids? Telling you, some of these people who don't know how to fight, who haven't been trained how to throw a jab, right hand, left hook, they're kind of harder to spar, if you know what I mean. Even though they will get tired after like a minute because they don't really train. As far as like them being like really unpredictable and throwing these wild fucking Beyonce Wilder punches from these mad angles. Beyonce Wilder don't really know how to box, does he? Do you think that Naz was a 15-round fighter if it went the distance? I read a little article the other day, you know, from Nigel Benn, and he was like dissing Nassim Ahmed. Because like Nigel Benn, he said in this article, it was a really interesting one. I read it on Facebook. And Nigel Benn, he said that Naz went to his gym in Tenerife, or his training camp. This is when they were both fighting, innit? And Nigel Benn said that Naz, he was like strutting around, you know, acting all cocky and that, all arrogant. You know, with his little yes men, his little groupies. You know, Nigel Benn said these fucking muppets who used to carry Naz to the ring, you know, on a little fucking chair. They were with him, you know, in the gym, in Nigel Benn's training camp in Tenerife. And Nigel Benn was like, Naz, he came there, you know, with his little yes men. And he was acting cocky and that. And Nigel Benn said to him, listen, don't be giving me all that shit, you know. You got these little fucking groupies around you, yeah, but I ain't about that. I ain't about that groupie life, you know what I mean? I'll fuck you up. That's what Nigel Benn said, and it's true, innit? Nigel Benn would have messed up Nassim Ahmed. He would, wouldn't he? Because Naz didn't really box anybody, did he? Nigel Benn, he boxed Eubank Senior, who was quite good, yeah? Got a draw with him. He lost and he got a draw. You know, he fucked up Gerald McLennan, blinded the fuck out of him. And Gerald McLennan was seen as a mini Mike Tyson. And he was like a fucking evil bastard. He was cruel to animals, wasn't he? Gerald McLennan. That's why I'm glad he's blind. But Nigel Benn fucked him up. You know, he got a draw with Eubank. What else did he do? He got beat by Watson. Got beat by Collins. But he was a tough guy. So Nigel Benn would have fucked up a little 9-stone Nassim Ahmed. And Naz knew it, didn't he? Because like, I used to work in a club, yeah, as a bouncer. And I used to work with like security guards, bouncers. And they used to tell me stories about how Nassim Ahmed used to go into their clubs. You know, and act all arrogant and act all fucking stuck up. Like, yeah, look at me. You know, acting all cocky and that, trying to take women from men. You know, trying to steal men's girlfriends and that. And these bouncers had to grab Naz and fucking chuck him out. He's only 9 stone, isn't he? So he's not really effective in the streets, if you know what I mean. You know, like Prince Patel and that fucking little bitch, Sonny Edwards. So these guys, these little fuckers, they're not really effective in the streets. I'm telling you. I told you about the time when I was in town a few months ago and I seen that little bitch, Sonny Edwards. You know, stumbling out of a little alleyway in Sheffield on a Saturday night. He had all blood all over his face. And I said to him, what's happened to you? And he was like, oh, I just had a fight with a few guys. You know what I mean? He got messed up. You know, it's alright saying you're a world champ, but you're like the best of a bad bunch, you know, like that Shannon Contney. And she's not even the best, is she, really? But yeah, Nigel Benn said, Naz, you know, you haven't really boxed anybody. Who have you beaten? It's kind of true, isn't it? Like, who did Naz beat? Like Kevin Kelly. Like, he's not really like a boxing legend, is he? And I'm a big fan of Naz as well, but Nigel Benn was right, wasn't he? Like, Nigel Benn didn't really, you know, he didn't pussy out, did he? He boxed some big names like Eubank and fucking Collins and Gerald McLennan, but Naz, he didn't really fight anybody, did he? We don't really look at Kevin Kelly like he's a boxing legend, do we? There's still hundreds of people in the chat, you know. At this time. You lot are hardcores. I appreciate people for watching, donating, subscribing. Like I said, we're going to try and do these lives every day. Yeah? You know those IFL fuckers? They put out videos all the time, don't they? Every day. I watched the interview with Coogan interviewing a woman on Zoom. Some woman boxer. Which is called Beck Donnelly or something like that. The interview was garbage. Yeah, it was fucking garbage, but still a bit of content in it. Rank Michelle Hall Phelps from 1 to 10. Michelle Hall Phelps. Alright then, let's have a little look at her. We'll have a little look at Hall Phelps. Hold on a minute. Can you not see that? Is that clear? Oh, look at it. Fucking hell. I'm just having a little look at Hall Phelps in it. Yeah, what do you think of that? She looks alright. Decent looking. Decent. She's getting a bit old now, isn't it? So her looks are starting to like decline, if you know what I mean. She's starting to fucking go downhill a bit, and she knows it, don't she? Yeah, that's her there, isn't it? She's got quite a strong jaw, so she's probably good at giving blowjobs, isn't she? Who's that? I think there are a few ring card girls. That's that matchroom ring card girl. Yeah, she looks alright. A fucking bang worse. Decent looking. That's her at the Ingle gym. She like interviewed me, you know, on her channel. We did like a little face off, but she didn't put the video up, you know what I mean? She didn't want me to get that exposure. Fuck, what the fuck is going on? Would you do interviews again for IFL TV if Kruger paid you the true grandiosa? I don't know. I don't know if it would work. Would it work? I don't know. There's so many people. Like, there's so many people. I'd probably get arrested for assault because obviously some people might try and put it on me. Innit? I ain't a bitch. So I'd have to like retaliate, innit? And it's just drama, innit? But I don't want to get arrested. I got arrested a few months ago for assault, and I got put in a little cell. There was a little mattress, a little toilet, and I was in there for like 17 hours, and it was so boring. I was so fucking bored, man. So I'm trying to stay away from prison, innit? I just want to focus on these videos, you know, and getting paid and just, you know, invest in it and that. Right, it's been an hour. People are still tuning in, you know. What do you think? Should I fuck it off? Let me get a few more questions in and then wrap it up. Longer, says Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's here at the start and he's here at the end. This guy's hardcore. Like, who are you? Who are you? Like, who are you? Like, who are you? Where do you live? Like, where are you from? Like, what do you do? Like, what's your life all about, man? Quite interested in this guy who tunes in at the very, very beginning and he's here at the very, very end. Yeah, shout out to Bruce Lee. Stay on the live until you finish the wine. Have you ever been over to Fort Ventura with Brooke and Ingle? Nah, never been, but that's the kind of life I want to live though. Like, I want to go over to those kind of countries, you know, where it's nice and hot and there's a boxing gym, train, work out, get in good shape, and then just go to the clubs and get drunk and snort cocaine and fuck some women. You know, in those kind of places like Marbella. I think there's an MTK Global gym there, isn't there? So that's really my aim, my goal, my fucking... I'm not saying I want to live there permanently, because I love England, innit? But to go over to like Marbella and just go to the boxing gym, the MTK Global gym, work out. Because I love boxing, innit? I just love it. I still love doing it. But I just like lost interest, you know, when it started to get a bit like financial. And I had to pay out this £600 for a brain scan and a medical, and I had to pay the fucking boxing board £200 a year. And I had to buy these boxing gloves, and I had to buy this protein powder, and I had to buy these fucking multivitamins, and I had to buy this head guard for £100, and I had to buy this protector, this ball protector for £60, and I had to buy these boxing boots. You know, when it started to get like financial, it started to become less enjoyable. But to just do it as like a little hobby. And I want to fight Jake Paul. Boy, I'm not really on that level, am I, realistically? You know that guy, what's he called? Bradis. He got a little tattoo of Jake Paul, didn't he? That's cringe, man. That's some baby thing. That's fucking corny as fuck. How can you get a tattoo of another man, like, begging him for a payday? That's cringe, man. That's fucking cringe. It is, isn't it? Getting a tattoo of another man. Nah. Pedro. He gave me £5, Pedro, and he said, how many MTK Global boxers sell coke on the side? Sell coke. I don't know. I want to be involved. I'm telling you, I really want to be involved. Like, you know, I just find crime interesting. I want to help MTK Global, you know, launder that fucking drug money. You know, give me some handouts and I'll put your little logo, you know, at the top of these videos. And I'll help you launder the money in it. It's a bit immoral, you know, like selling drugs, but you know, the title of this video is Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, a review. And I haven't mentioned it once, have I? It's all clickbait, isn't it? It's all fucking clickbait, this channel, isn't it? Right, 1 hour, 5 minutes. Let me just have one more piss here, and then I'm gonna read one more question, and then I'm gonna fucking wrap it up. This is the second live of the night. Still here, yeah? Still hundreds of people in the chat, in the live. It's good, man. I don't think you even need me here, to be honest with you. This is what gives me the confidence to do lives every day. You know, the fact that I don't even need to be here. We can just read the comments. And I can just piss. And just fucking whatever. I was in an alleyway the other day, yeah, pissing. And there was like two women, two nice little white women. And they were like walking past the alleyway. They didn't see me, innit? They didn't see me stood there pissing. And they were like talking to each other, these two little white women. And what they were like on their way to a takeaway. And one of them said to the other one, I don't know if I can eat any food, you know, because I need a shit. That's what she said, you know what I mean? She didn't know I was fucking listening. Women don't talk like that, do they? You know, when they, you know, they normally try and keep that secret, don't they? They try and keep their fucking shits behind closed doors, don't they? You know, this woman, this little white woman, she was quite nice. There was two of them, innit? And I was like pissing in an alleyway, yeah, and they were like walking, innit? They didn't know I was there, so they were like talking to each other, like not knowing that there was someone there listening. And like, one of the women said to the other woman, I don't know if I can eat any food, you know, because I need a shit. Yeah? It's fucking interesting, you know, the conversations that you hear. You know, that you're not supposed to. You know, people talk about being a fly on the wall. I love being that fly. They were talking about shitting. Women try and keep that like to themselves. You know those two fucking bimbos there with fucking bent legs. One of those two women wouldn't say to Coogan, hurry up and take the photo because I need to go and have a shit. It won't happen, would it? So yeah, you know, being a little fly on the wall is interesting, you know, to like listen into other people's conversations. Someone says, Tyan, talk about wiping your ass with paper or water. Why do you want me to talk about that? Like, I don't mind, but I'm just saying, like, it's a bit, yeah, all right then. What are you asking me here? Talk about wiping your ass with paper or water. Me personally, I use water in it. I blast my ass crack with water. When I go to the toilet, then I like sit on the side of the bath. My bath is just in front of my toilet. So I sit like on the side of the bath, you know, like my ass like pointing into the bath. And I get the shower and I put it under my ass. And I just start blasting my crack. You know, with the shower head, like the water's like blasting up. You know, the hot water. It's like going up into my arse crack. And I like pull. Like this hand is holding like the shower head. Just imagine that's the shower head, yeah? With the water blasting up. This hand is holding the shower head, yeah? And this hand is like pulling my arse cheeks open. You know, so that water can get as far into my crack as possible. I'm telling you, man, I love it. I fucking really enjoy it, man. I fucking love it, man. Blasting shit all over the place. Not really. It's in the bath, innit? And then when I finish, I get like some Jif. Do you know what Jif is? It's like a little spray, a little antibacterial spray. and I just like spray the bath. Yeah, come on, man. You fucking talking about blasting shit all over the place. If you just use dry tissue, you got shit in your crack. If you got shit on your fingers and you wipe it with like dry tissue, and then you go and fucking eat a Burger King, it's not good enough, is it? You have to fucking wash your hands, so you have to wash your ass. That's what Muslims do, innit? I used to live with a Muslim and he used to like fucking wash his ass like with water. So I might have picked it up from him, but I don't know. Dirty people use toilet paper. Yeah, I don't really want to judge people and have a go at them. I'm just talking about what I do personally. Yeah, do you, innit? Do you, man. I just like having a clean crack. Because like I used to be on this dating app called Plenty of Fish, and this woman from Liverpool, she like started messaging me and that, and we was chatting, and she says, oh, do you like getting rimmed? And I said, yeah, I love it, yeah. She was like, all right then, do you fancy meeting up in a hotel? So we met up in a hotel in Manchester, and like she fucking rimmed me, innit? And like afterwards when we were talking about it, she said that was really refreshing. So it's proper fucked up, you know. I like this feeling. I've been drinking tea all day, yeah. I only started drinking alcohol when I started doing these lives, but because I've done a live before this one, innit? But like, you know, when I was drinking tea, I was so bored. I was just like sat here like fucking drinking tea. Where's my cup? I've got a cup somewhere, a tea cup. It's just so boring. What do you do if you need to shit in a public place? Yeah, that's a good question, you know. That's a very good question. I have to hold it in, innit? I have to hold it in, I'm gonna be honest. It's fucking uncomfortable though, isn't it? I got on a train a few weeks ago to Nottingham because I wanted to go back to my area, you know, and have a good night in Notts. It was like a Saturday, innit? So I got on a train to Nottingham from Sheffield. 50 minutes, the train journey was. I got off the train in Nottingham. As soon as I got off the train, I needed a fucking shit, man. So I had to like get back on the train and go back home to Sheffield, you know. It's fucking... Sometimes I wish I was fucking dirty, you know, just filthy. You know Michelle Hall Phelps, you know, a few years ago, she like wrote a tweet. Because like she was on an aeroplane, innit? And she was sat next to this fat bitch. And you know this fat bitch, she stunk. And Hall Phelps, she was on her phone. And she wrote a tweet in it saying, oh, this woman sat next to me on this plane stinks. Why don't she wash her arse? That's what Hall Phelps said in a tweet. Michelle Hall Phelps. Fucking love these lives, you know. Seriously. I'm gonna try and do them every day, innit? How comes Kel's mum and dad are white, but he's black? Well, his mum's white, his biological mum's white. His dad, the white guy, is like his stepdad, innit? He took him on. And you have to rate him, you know, for taking on someone else's kid. Like, I used to be with a woman who had 2 kids, and her kids were fucking irritating bastards. They were horrible little fuckers. They used to just like, I'd be in bed with the woman, and the kids would like come into the room like screaming and jumping up and down on the bed, and I thought, I can't handle this. I'm gonna have to fuck this woman off. and her kids, so I had to get out of there, man. You know Louis Theroux. He got interviewed by True Geordie, innit? And Louis Theroux said he shouted at his kids so loud it fucked up his vocal cords. And he was a bit worried because he thought it might affect his job, you know, because he's like a documentary maker. You know, he's interviewed Jimmy Savile and all them, Chris Eubank seniors. So he thought like shouting at his kids and fucking up his vocal cords would like hinder his job opportunities. But I think he's recovered, because I watched him on the True Geordie podcast and he was talking alright. He said he's recovered. But yeah, Kell Brook's mum's white. The white dad is like his stepdad, innit? His real dad is black. And one time his real black dad, I don't want to get too personal, innit? Because I don't really know the ins and outs at all. I don't know the ins and outs. But again, I don't want to speculate in it, but I think the black dad neglected Kell. You know, he's like Nigel Benn, you know, going out, getting drunk, popping a few little fellas and banging Harley Benn's mum, getting her pregnant and then fucking off and giving Conor Benn that quality time. So we've all done it, innit? So Kell Brook's biological black dad, he probably did the same. He probably went out to a fucking dirty nightclub in Sheffield, got drunk, popped a few little fellas like Nigel Benn, banged a woman and just thought, right, okay, that was a good fuck, now I'm out of here, you know, and then fucked off. And then the woman gave birth to Kell, and the black dad, he fucked off. But then as Kell like started to grow up and he started to get into boxing and he started to win like amateur titles, and then he turned pro and won a British title and then a world title, and he started to make millions fighting Golovkin, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, who else? Sean Porter. Yeah, and he started to get the bag. You know, the black dad, he like came to the gym and he had like Kell's birth certificate, and he started like waving it around saying, look everybody, I'm Kell Brook's dad, look, my name's on the birth certificate. Come on, man. It's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit fucking... GGG. Did I say Kell box GGG as well? I didn't say Canelo, did I? Did I say GGG? Kell Brook boxed GGG and he got paid millions. And he boxed Errol Spence and Crawford and Sean Porter, and he made that money. And his dad, his black dad, like tried to come on the scene. But I don't know if that's how it was though. You don't know, do you? Like, I've got a friend who's fucking had a kid with a woman, and she like tries to stop him from seeing the kid. And she tries to like slag off the dad, you know, to the kid, you know, trying to put it into the kid's mind that this guy is evil. But why would you want your kid to be angry and hateful, you know, and hate the dad? Like, why would you want your kid to like grow up and be resentful, you know, and bitter and think, oh, my dad, he didn't give a fuck about me, you know, because of the things that the mom has said to the kid? I don't understand that. Like, when women have kids with a man, they split up with a man, and then the women like slag off the man to the kid, trying to get the kid to hate the man, the dad, trying to turn on him, trying to get the kid to turn on him. Because all your kid's going to do is like grow up bitter, you know, and twisted. So what's the point? I don't understand. Why do you want your kid to be bitter though? Like, well, that's what some women do, don't they? So like, when I fuck women, I have to like fucking come in their faces. I have to jizz in their fucking faces, man, and not get them pregnant. And I have to deal with this baby mama drama. It's a bit long, isn't it? Right, 1 hour, 20 minutes. That's milking it. That's too long. That's way too long, man. One more question, yeah? This is the last one. I'm enjoying it, so I could go on for hours in it. But I don't want to overdo it. So Jamie Campbell, give me a little super chat, £1.79. And he said, how does Coogan get girls when he's unattractive? You know what it is. You know exactly what it is. You know what it is. The blue tick, the followers, the camera. That's what women love, man. A lot of them are fucking... You know, I was just talking about like Muslim women. You know how they respect their parents. And like, I've got a Muslim mate who's a man. And when I see him, I say, have you fucked any women recently? And he says, no, because I think God's watching me and I feel guilty. So that's the same with the women, innit? The Muslim women. They don't sleep around because they know that their parents will not approve. And they think God's watching as well. So they're more spiritual, aren't they, these Muslim women? They've been told from a young age, there's a God, there's a God, there's a God. The Prophet Muhammad, Allah, yeah? The Quran, you know, it's all true. That's what they've been told from a young age, isn't it? So when these Muslim women get older, you know, they're spiritual, aren't they? They're more spiritual and they're not necessarily like shallow, fucking superficial whores. You know, like some of these women in the Western world who it's all about followers, innit? Blue ticks, likes, retweets. You know, they haven't really got anything to them, have they? They haven't got much substance. But these Muslim women, they're a bit more spiritual, aren't they? So Coogan, yeah, he attracts these shallow bimbos, don't he? Because he's got a little camera. And he fucking has got a channel that's got nearly 1 million subscribers. A lot of those subscribers he's paid for. He's bought subscribers, hasn't he? He's bought them, hasn't he? So he attracts those kind of women because he's got a camera and he's got a fucking channel with loads of subscribers. So he can make these little bimbos famous, you know, and help them to get paid thousands of pounds, you know, on their OnlyFans accounts. Yeah, Coogan can help these bimbos make thousands and thousands of pounds on their OnlyFans accounts. So they're all over him, aren't they? Look at that. If he was working in McDonald's, would he have those bimbos all over him like that? And that's what I said in a video earlier on in my YouTube life, and it kind of hit a nerve, and he started to fucking tell me to be safe and all that silly talk. Be safe. What? You fucking what? Yeah, that's how it started, isn't it? 1 hour, 25 minutes. I need to wrap it up. Seriously, I could fucking go on all night, you know, with this. There's still hundreds of people watching as well, but I'm going to have to fuck it off. Tyanbooth, don't stop the live. Someone else says no. Like, no, don't stop. That's quite interesting, isn't it? People are fucking begging me to stay on the live. Tyanbooth, are you going live tomorrow? We're gonna have a go. We're gonna have a go. I can't drink every day. That's the thing. This is the problem, yeah? This is why I don't go live every day. For me to go live, I need a drink. Because I'm a bit socially retarded. Yeah, I'm a bit fucking socially retarded, like when I froze, when I'm at Eddie Earn. I need a little drink, you know, and I'm not, it's not like I'm scared, it's more like, you know, Tyson Fury, he said he had panic attacks, didn't he? I don't know what it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, like adrenaline a lot of the time. You know, when I was in the shop earlier on, I was getting like a little adrenaline rush. You know, like I was getting ready to fight, and I thought, what's up with you, man? fucking hell, you're just here to buy milk. Why are you fucking getting all worked up over some bullshit? Like, fucking stupid, man. Dumb. It don't happen all the time, just sometimes I get a bit like, fuck. It's probably after Joshua put it on me, you know what I mean? I might have that post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, so this guy here, someone called Fur Q, has said, Tyan, just smoke weed tomorrow instead. That's a fucking good comment, you know, because I smoked weed yesterday. I had about 8 spliffs and I woke up the next day not feeling hungover at all. But this alcohol, it kind of fucks you up, innit? So tomorrow we're going to get some weed and we're going to have a little smoke. And we're going to go live again because I've enjoyed these lives today. Cesaro's going to glass you if you stop the live, yeah. He's fucking milking it, innit? Someone said you need balance. One day weed, one day alcohol. That's it. That's it, man. You lot are on the fucking ball, man. You lot are clued up, man. I'm telling you. We can just sit here and look at these comments, can't we? Without even speaking. Do a DMT live feed, Ty. No, I can't. You know, if I do DMT and do a live, I'll just embarrass myself too much. I might take my clothes off, you know, and start fucking wanking or just... I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's unknown, isn't it? It's the unknown, man. Get some sniff. That'll be a giggle, yep. Cocaine. I need to mix it up. One day drink alcohol. The next day smoke weed. The next day snort coke. Yeah? And then back to the alcohol. You know, to try and do lives every day. I'm telling you, like, I want to do it every day. Every day. Right. One more question. Then I'm going to fucking wrap it up. Heroin Sundays. Did I tell you that I bought a crackhead around here? 2 crackhead women who watch my videos. I was parked up in my car, innit, and this woman came over and was chatting, and she kind of recognised me, you know, from my YouTube channel. And she was like, oh, I really like your channel, I really like your videos. So I bought some crack cocaine. And she came around here with the crack cocaine. I bought about £40 worth. And she had like a little crack pipe, her and her little mate. And they were fucking smoking crack, you know, in here. And I was sat over there and I thought, should I try some crack cocaine? But I thought, nah, come on, man. That's fucking stupid, isn't it? But they were talking about how good the high was. You know, the crack cocaine high. And I want to kind of... You know what it is with me? Like, my last buzz in life was beating that little fucking muppet Marcus Morrison. You know, that little fucking fake prospect, that little hyped up little fake fucker. That was the last big buzz I had, and that was about 3 years ago. Boxing's a good buzz. I was watching Kell Brook get interviewed today on Zoom by that fucking bent legs. And Kell was talking about how you don't know anything else. There's nothing else that gives him a bigger buzz than boxing. Yeah, and you see that with Ricky Hatton snorting coke. Tyson Fury snorting coke. Yeah, so it's a bit addictive, boxing, you know, the buzz of winning. Even though I didn't get to any great level, I got a little victory over that fucking muppet Marcus Morrison, and it was a good buzz. It was a very good buzz, to be honest. And you know, after the fight, Dominic Ingle was driving us back to Sheffield from Derby. And my phone was pinging because Dominic posted on his Instagram, you know, that I'd won the fight. So people were messaging me, yeah, saying congratulations, and, you know, getting that praise. It felt quite nice. But because my phone was pinging and pinging, and I was in the car with Dominic, I put the phone on silent. Because Dominic, he was talking, you know, about Nassim Hamed and Johnny Nelson. And I like listening to those stories about Nas. So I put my phone on silent, yeah, but it was on vibrate, you know, and my phone was pinging. And I got my phone and I put it like under my arse. And it was like vibrating under my arse, and it felt fucking nice. It felt fucking nice, man. Really enjoyed it. Now these comments are quality, you know, these comments are really good, man. I like these comments, but I'm gonna have to wrap it up because it's getting to like 2 hours. It's overdoing it, innit? It's fucking overdoing it, man. Tying you bum dosser, don't go. Yeah, it's one of them, innit? We're gonna save it for another day. Hopefully tomorrow we get some weed in. We'll go live again, yeah? Yes, thanks everybody for tuning in, for subscribing, for donating and commenting. It's been quite interesting, on it. Do you think R. Kelly's innocent? No, he's caught on camera pissing on a 15-year-old, Aaliyah. Yeah, Aaliyah. So he's fucking guilty, innit? But yeah, that'll do, you know. Thanks for tuning in again, yeah? Thanks.